In today's Leeds news, Leeds Gelhardt stance and fee, Stach's standout season, Spertsyan's bizarre comments on Leeds United, and more to come from Leeds. Hey folks, welcome to the Leeds View for Friday the 27th of February with your Leeds United news. Jer here, a lot of stuff to get stuck in today, some very interesting stuff. Finally, a rumour mill story gets a bit of concrete information directly from the player in a very bizarre interview with Eduard Spertsyan that we'll give you details on in a few minutes' time. We had the podcast last night, myself and Andrea Russo had a little talk about the Manchester City game coming up. Daniel Farke's comments, the team that we'll likely look to put in against Manchester City, as well as the next three games after that, and that being possibly crunch time in the Premier League and what could decide where Leeds finish this season against their opposition sides as well. I had a look at them in a bit more detail. So yeah, you can check all that stuff out if you want to. But today we've got a bit of stuff to get stuck into, and we'll start off with Joe Gelhardt and Leeds United's stance on the player. As we know, Leeds have a rumoured £100 million transfer kitty in the summer coming up, but that will likely be bolstered then by player sales as Leeds look to try and upgrade positions around the park and give themselves the best possible chance that they have and the most amount of money to try and bring players in this summer. The players that are currently out on loan will be the likely first players out the door, or where Leeds will hope to get the initial player sales from, the likes of Isaac Schmidt at Werder Bremen, Largi Ramazani at Valencia, and Joe Gelhardt at Hull City. Max Ferber might be a slight bit more of a problem for Leeds United, given that he's barely kicked the ball this season. The club don't seem to have a plan to sell Mateo Joseph at this point, at least. So we know already that Hull City are very interested in bringing Joe Gelhardt in on a permanent deal, and the Yorkshire Post have got some detail on that today, and they say that Leeds will have absolutely no issue in letting Joe Gelhardt leave the club this season. In fact, they're actually banking on selling Joe this summer, which we've known for a while, but you thought that maybe with the performances he put in, that might start to change a little bit. But the Post claim that Leeds will want between £3 to £5 million for Joe Gelhardt before they sanction any kind of an exit from the club. And he'll have 1 year left on his contract when he arrives back at Leeds United this summer coming. The fee is pretty close to what Leeds looked to bring in last summer for him, although he hadn't had the run that he's had now. So it was a bit tougher, but they'll have likely, again, as I say, very little issue attracting interest. We know Hull want him, but there will also be other interested parties this summer. There have been clubs that have been checking out Joe over the course of this season. There will be clubs who want to push for promotion next season, those that missed out on it slightly this year, or even clubs that go down and are looking to bounce back and be looking for a player who can score and get assists from midfield. And Joe's had a fantastic season this year. 14 G&A for Hull City, and a major part of their push into the playoffs this season. So it's an interesting one, but he does look like the very obvious candidate that will drum up some interest. The more clubs that are interested in it, the more likely drive a fee up as well from a Leeds perspective. That will be a positive. I hate saying that because I do like Joe Gelhardt quite a lot, and he's starting to show what Marcelo Bielsa thought he had when he brought him into the side initially as well. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on it. It'll likely rumble on until the summer. Let's talk about Anton Stach now. When Anton Stach joined Leeds United in the summer, we all spoke at length about the fact that his defensive stats were one of the best across European football, and we thought we were bringing in one of the best central defensive midfielders in Europe at that point. But his deployment at Leeds United has been slightly more diverse than that. He's played more attacking roles. He has played as a defensive option, but Ethan Ampadu has that number 6 role locked down completely. So Stach has been deployed elsewhere, and he's having a hell of a season. His attacking numbers this season are not only some of the best of his career, but are also some of the best in the Premier League. Stach ranks amongst the top players in the Premier League for chance creation, forward passes, and big chance creation as well. Over his previous 2 years that he had at Hoffenheim, Stach scored 4 goals in total and managed 5 assists. And the step up to the Premier League is supposed to be one that takes a lot of players time to adjust to, but he's taken to it like an absolute duck to water. This season alone, he's got 4 goals and 3 assists, and there's still plenty of time left on the clock. In fact, just under half of all of Anton Stach's career goals have come at Leeds United in the Premier League this season, and there's still 11 games left and still plenty of chances for him to add to that. And again, the more set pieces he gets, the fact that he's whipping them in over the course of this season, I think he's leveled the Ian Hart's record of 3 in a season. So it's been really, really good. What a signing he's been for Leeds United, and fingers crossed we can keep him fit. And that's another thing, he's had injuries this season as well, so he hasn't had a full run at the year to get the goals and assists that he has managed to get so far this year. But there's a lot more to come from him I think, over the next couple of years. And we talk about Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and we talk about Gabby Goodmunson, and maybe clubs having a look at him. Jacobiel's been linked with Liverpool. Anton Stach's a very important player for this Leeds United side, and he's got better and better as the season's gone on. There will be likely a lot of clubs having a little sniff around him come the summer, but hopefully Leeds can hang on to him. We don't need to sell, so we should be able to hang on to him. Let's move on and talk about Eduard Spertsyan and a very bizarre interview he gave where he mentioned Leeds United. First things first, massive thanks to Joe Blackburn, who's translated this interview that Spertsyan gave with one of the publications in Armenia, his home country. But he has been constantly linked with Leeds United over the past 3 transfer windows. We've heard lots of rumours that Leeds United are interested, even team talk. Lots of them have said Leeds are interested, blah, blah, blah. Is there actually ever any truth in this? Well, the player has given a very bizarre interview, but he has confirmed that Leeds did have interest in him. Spertsyan has confirmed not only was there interest, but there was also talks, a meeting, and an offer that went in for him over the past 3 transfer windows. The failure to sign Spertsyan, though, appears to lie somewhat in the player's camp in this situation, and in an interview, he manages to contradict himself several times and doesn't appear to understand how the transfer market works. It's a really, really strange interview. Spertsyan doesn't have an agent, and that, in fact, is the first problem here. He says that Krasnodar have told them not to have agents because they can't be trusted, and as a result, he doesn't have an agent because he doesn't trust them himself. He confuses this then by saying that clubs will call Krasnodar and try and organise a move, or intermediaries will try and organise a move, and then he will say, well, you know, you're not my agent, why are you talking to the club? But again, he doesn't have an agent. When Leeds contacted him, though, through an intermediary, which is how all the clubs that have been interested in him have tried to contact him, because again, there's no agent there, his response was this: you're not my agent, talk to the club instead of me. But again, he doesn't have an agent. On the Leeds situation, he said that Leeds were in for him in the summer, then the winter, and again in the winter of the new campaign. And he seemed annoyed that Leeds United had spoken to the club without a move actually happening. But again, there's issues there around negotiating a move. Leeds proposed a loan move with an option to buy the player. And he seemed to get offended by this, saying that I'm not playing in the Bulgarian third tier, which again is odd because he literally then moves on to talking about Marcus Rashford going to Barcelona for the exact same structured deal. So again, doesn't seem to really get the connection there. Leeds created a 90-minute presentation for him, which has been standard for Leeds United across all of their signings over the past 3 seasons. It's been a huge part of Leeds being able to convince players to come to Leeds United, and he didn't seem to understand the need for this. He said, we've been talking for 2 years. Why the presentation? I'll be pleased if you give me an offer, which Leeds did, and he was offended by. So again, really confusing situation here. There seems to be a ton of issues when it comes to actually Krasnodar here himself. The insistence of the players following their instructions, which he has done, not understanding how the transfer market works, and not having anyone to negotiate on his behalf. He says that he does want to move on and move into the next phase of his career, but doesn't seem to know how to go about doing that, and doesn't even have a lawyer to have a look at contracts for him or negotiate contracts for him. He only has a lawyer to look over his deals, and then he signs them and takes the club's word for what's in the deal. So a very strange situation. A move to Ajax, Leeds United and several other clubs have all fallen through over the past couple of years, and Spertsyan seems surprised that this has seemed to happen without the obvious answers being literally right in front of him. I would be now shocked if this move happens. How do you negotiate a move for a player like this? Leeds have gone in several times, so they clearly are keen on him. He has confirmed that Leeds have held talks, they put an offer on the table that he didn't like, and then didn't understand why Leeds didn't put an offer in for him. Doesn't have an agent, but wants you to talk to his agent. All of it is bizarre. How do you negotiate a deal to try and bring a player like that in? There's a hugely talented player in there. I'm a big fan. I've seen him play an awful lot. I watched him play for Armenia against Ireland, where he absolutely destroyed Ireland in 2 matches. He was fantastic in both those games. In 18 games this season, he's got 8 goals and 12 assists. He's got 20 G&A this season. He's an absolute set-piece master and would be a fantastic signing for Leeds United, which Leeds United also seem to believe would be the case. They can't get him in. The reason Leeds put the loan option with the permanent move there was because of PSR as well, and trying to negotiate deals to get extra players in. And they've all happened relatively near the end of the transfer window. But he seems to have a lot of faith in the Krasnodar ownership and what they do, and seems to take all of their instructions to heart and follow them to the letter of the law, which means getting out of the Russian Premier League and moving on with his career could be quite difficult. There have been loads of clubs that have had a sniff around him, and now we understand why those moves haven't happened. Again, massive thanks to Joe Blackburn for trawling through this interview, which was given in Armenian, and managing to translate it and give us the key bullet points from it. But yeah, very bizarre situation, a very bizarre story. Let's move on and talk about something less bizarre in Joe Rodon. Joe Rodon's been speaking to LeedsUnited.com and is under no illusions heading into this weekend's game that Leeds United will have a very tough task on their hands and will be playing against a brilliant manager and a brilliant side when they take Manchester City on under the lights at Elland Road. But Rodon does believe that there is a lot more to come from this Leeds United side and feels that Leeds have some unfinished business when it comes to Man City after their late winner at the Etihad earlier on this season. But speaking on Leeds' results since that game and the belief in the squad, Joe Rodon said the following. We've been on a great run and I think the team is just improving game by game. I think overall it's been a good season, but there's a lot more we want to do and keep pushing. Rodon was incredibly grateful to the Leeds United fan base and everyone at the club for accepting him when he joined the side, and spoke about the atmosphere at Elland Road and the 12th man vibe that they get and need from the Elland Road crowd. He's talked about it at length in the LeedsUnited.com article that you can check out on the official page. But on his arrival to Leeds United, Joe Rodon said the following. I've said it a number of times. I think the moment I came through the doors, everyone involved with the club and the fans have taken me in. I have loved every minute of it and the journey especially that we have been on. Obviously, achieving what we wanted to last year and hopefully achieving our goals this year. Rodon's been fantastic for Leeds since he's come in the door. This season specifically for me, because he's just kind of quietly gone about doing his job. There's not a huge clamour around talking about Joe Rodon. We're all talking about Ethan Ampadu this week. We've talked about the newer players that have come in and the impact that they've had. Some of the players that have turnaround seasons like Gruev and Aronson. We're not talking about Joe Rodon anymore. And I think that's a testament to the quality the player has. He's just been getting on with his job and just doing a really terrific job in the Leeds United backline. And that quietness might see him miss out on a Player of the Year award, but he's definitely in the bracket for me of a player who should be talked about as a potential Player of the Year himself. Ethan Ampadu very much up there for me. He's been brilliant. One of my favourite players in the Leeds shirt. Epitomises the side before self motto. Gives everything for the Leeds United shirt. Looks like he gets beaten up in every single game, but keeps on going. I absolutely love Joe Rodon. He's a fantastic player for Leeds and a huge part of what that squad have achieved so far this season and last year. So well done, Joe. Really interesting interview. That's only a little snippet of it. Go over to LeedsUnited.com and check out the rest of it as well. It's worth the read. Interesting to hear from Joe. Folks, that'll be it for me today. You can check out the podcast from last night, myself and Andrea Russo. And also, don't forget, check out OK Jerseys for an 8% discount on all of their jerseys, tracksuits, and everything else they've got on that site if you want to help the channel. OKJersey.com and the code is TView. Outside that, give us a like and a subscribe if you can, or hype, and I will talk to you on the watch along on bigup.com tomorrow night, and then back on YouTube for the instant match reaction straight afterwards. Have a great rest of your day. I'll talk to you soon. See you later. Bye.